Present in the public gallery and those that are watching via the live stream. In accordance with section 25(3) of the Local Government Act 2020 and the City of Casey governance rules, I am appointed as chairperson for this meeting. It is noted that Councillor Anthony Walter of Dilwinia Ward is absent from this afternoon's meeting. I would also like to acknowledge our administrators, Nolene Duff, Miguel Belmar and Cameron Boardman, who officially finished their roles at the City of Casey following tonight's proceedings. Our municipal monitors also join us this evening, to my left, and we have Peter Stevenson and Cameron Boardman, who transitions to his municipal monitor role from tomorrow. We are joined by a number of senior staff here today. To my left, Ms. Jennifer Bednar, Director, Customer and Corporate Services, Mr. Steve Coldham, Director, Community Life, and immediately to my right, Mr. James Collins, the Director of City Planning and Infrastructure. We're supported also this evening by the Office of Council team, our audio-visual team, and we have a number of other staff here from Council, so welcome to all of you. The Statement of Acknowledgement. The City of Casey proudly acknowledges the traditional owners, Casey's Aboriginal communities and their rich culture, and pays respect to their elders past, present and future. We acknowledge Aboriginal people as Australia's first peoples and as the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we work and live. To the Diversity Statement. The City of Casey is home to remarkable diversity with many cultures, languages, faiths and communities of worship, ages, LGBTQI+ identities and landscapes, together forming our rich and dynamic community story. From our first Australians to our most recent arrivals and every wave in between, the City of Casey welcomes and represents all community members and their respective ambitions to live healthy, rewarding and happy lives. We recognise this diversity as our strength and we aim to share, nurture and celebrate it. To confirmation of minutes, there is one set of meeting minutes that need to be confirmed this evening, and they are from the special council meeting that was held on the 15th of October 2024. Could I please have a mover to confirm the minutes of that meeting? Councillor Rowe, thank you. Move Councillor Rowe, and a seconder. Oh, thank you, Councillor Deason. I'm going to put that to the motion. Are there any objections? All those in favour of that motion? If you'd raise your hand to indicate acceptance of those minutes, and that is carried unanimously. Thank you. To declaration of conflicts of interest. I have considered my obligations under section 130 of the Local Government Act 2020 and do not have any conflict of interest relevant to the agenda papers. Are there any councillors with conflicts of interest in the agenda that they wish to declare? And there are none. And do any council officers have any conflict of interest regarding reports presented this afternoon? And they do not. All right, we'll proceed to public question time. There has been 11 public questions submitted through Council's website for this afternoon's Council meeting. In accordance with Rule 65.11, any person who submits a public question must be in the gallery at the time the question and response is due to be read. If a person is not present in the gallery, the question will not be read. However, it will be recorded in the minutes of this Council meeting, together with a copy of the written response. All right, so we proceed to the first question, and I believe Mr. Gary Page is with us this afternoon. That has been confirmed on his arrival. His question relates to the Waste Transfer Station, Amendment C294. As Amendment C294 has not been approved and incorporated into the Casey Planning Scheme, then Clause 37.01, Schedule 1, has not been updated to exempt requirements of Section 52, 64 and 82 of the Act for the planning scheme SUZ1 zones. Before Council's approval, must PA 23/0694 have a Section 52 planning permit application public notice? Is Council required to formally consider any objection under section 57, 57(1), etc., and does it permit section 82 applications for review? Before I get Mr Collins to respond to that, we have tried to cluster these questions because they are requiring the same answer. I would just ask, is Mr Alan Murphy in the gallery this evening? And he is, thank you. So your question, Mr Murphy, was why has a planning permit PA 23/0694 been granted to Veolia Recycling and Recovery Proprietary Limited for the construction of a waste transfer station been approved by the administrators of the council without due consultation with Casey residents, considering the rezoning has not been approved by the Minister for Planning and while there is current litigation by the EPA against Veolia for serious breaches. And I will now hand across to Mr Collins to respond to that question. Thank you.
A planning application for a waste transfer station within the Hampton Park Development Plan Precinct can be submitted, considered and determined by Council under the current planning controls. 290 Hallam Road is zoned special use zone and is affected by a development plan overlay. The Casey planning scheme states that if a development plan has been prepared to the satisfaction of the responsible authority, an application under any provision of this planning scheme is exempt from the notice requirements. A development plan was prepared for the area and endorsed by Council in July 2023. Therefore, the exemptions outlined in clause 43.04-3 apply to this planning application. Council officers can provide the submitter with specific schedules listed in the planning scheme if required. Planning Scheme Amendment C294 does not change the zoning of the land for the waste transfer station. While the planning permit was exempt from formal public notice, details about the proposal were available on the Casey website. This proposal was assessed on its own merits, separate from the Veolia landfill operations, which are subject to other compliance investigations by the EPA. We are aware that the VPA has recently launched civil proceedings against Veolia in the Supreme Court over the Hallam Road landfill. However, this legal matter is unrelated to the waste transfer station planning application and does not influence the decision.
We have further questions in relation to the waste transfer station EPA buffer guidelines, again from Gary Page, who is present, and I would ask, is Bernadette Bilbao Dixon present today? No. So to Gary Page's question, the EPA guidelines for a transfer station accepting putrescible waste is 500 metres, while the landfill buffer guideline is 1,500 metres. The Hampton Park Hill Development Plan, Figure 4, illustrates a 500 metre landfill buffer. Given the long history of odour complaints, are people in the EPA buffer able to lodge complaints against PA 23/0694 under section 57? Can those residents who have been impacted by odour be accepted as site neighbours? And who else can lodge an objection, e.g. third parties? And again, I'll refer that to Mr Collins.
In August 2024, the EPA updated its separation distance guidelines to increase the default separation distance for odour associated with a waste transfer station from 250 metres to 500 metres. This distance can be varied subject to a risk assessment. In this case, Veolia have submitted a risk assessment. More information on these buffers and separation distances is available on Council's website. Section 57 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987 applies where a planning permit application is amended after public notice is given under Section 52 of the Act. As this planning permit application was exempt from public notice under Section 52, Section 57 of the Act does not apply.
The next question has been received in relation to the waste transfer station planning delegations from Jackie Horn. Are they in the gallery this evening? They are not, and neither is Bernadette Bilbao Dixon in relation to the same matter, so we'll pass over that. And move on to a question that's been submitted from Kristen Barnard, again in relation to the waste transfer station, relating to exemption from public submissions. Is Christian Barnard in the gallery this evening? They are, thank you. Under what authority do the Casey Council administrators approve a planning permit to Veolia, PA 23/0694, recycling without major input from and consultation with Casey residents considering the major opposition to the proposed site from the residents to date. And again, Mr Collins will respond.
This planning application was assessed and approved by planning officers under delegation. The officers assessed the application against the Hampton Park Hill Development Plan, which sets the strategic direction for the landfill and surrounding area. The approved development plan shows the waste transfer station located on land identified for waste and resource recovery. As there is a development plan in place, this meant that the application was exempt from public exhibition.
Moving on to Berwick Springs Lake, the next two questions have been received from Paul Greenman. Is Mr Greenman here this evening? No. And Sandy Platt. Is Sandy Platt present? Thank you. Council fund a variety of services via our rates. So as a ratepayer, I'm extremely disappointed at the renaming of Berwick Springs Lake. This has been done without consulting the local community. Therefore, could the council please tell me what portion and/or percentage of our rates is allocated for the maintenance of Berwick Springs Lake? And again, Mr Collins will respond. Thank you.
The lake is owned by Melbourne Water, and since council does not have authority to name features on land owned by other identities, were not involved in the naming process. Council is responsible for maintaining the surrounding reserve, including the walking trails and playgrounds, under an agreement with Melbourne Water, who maintain the water and the lakes. The proposal to change the lake's name was initiated by the Victorian State Government, and any community engagement would have been managed by them.
The next question has been submitted by, excuse me, thank you.
What about the funding? No, you had funding given to them by the council.
We don't have a response to that at the moment. Very happy at the conclusion of the meeting to have a conversation in relation to you. Thank you. We don't have that. Thank you. I'm very happy to answer that question. We'll deal with you at the conclusion of the meeting. Thank you. I don't have that information available. It's simply not available in the responses we've been provided. Thank you. I am moving on to the next question, which has been submitted by Mr Paul Greenman, who it relates to council agendas. Mr Greenman is not with us, so we'll pass over that response. And that concludes our questions for this evening. Thank you. I'm not going to persist with your interjections. Thank you. We're now going to move on to item 5.1, which is the term of office for the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor. And Ms Chloe Casey, the Manager Communications and Corporate Governance, will present this report. Thanks, Ms Casey.
Thank you and good evening, councillors. The Local Government Act 2020 allows for councils to determine the term of office for its mayor and subsequently deputy mayor. The term of office needs to be determined prior to undertaking the election of the mayor and is therefore the first report for consideration this evening. While the Act allows for the provision of appointing a 2-year mayoral term, the most common model across Victorian councils is to adopt a 1-year mayoral term to allow for regular leadership rotation. Adopting a 1-year mayoral term also encourages more councillors to gain experience as mayor during their term, fostering a culture of leadership within the council, encouraging collaboration and helping to build trust and a cohesive approach. Officers are therefore recommending that council determine a 1-year term of office for the mayor and deputy mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Casey. Are there any questions from councillors in relation to this item? There are not. So I'm looking for a mover to move the recommendation. One of the councillors. Thank you, Councillor Pereira. You've moved the motion. And a seconder?
I'll second the motion.
Councillor Taylor, thank you. Are there any objections? If not, I will put that motion to the vote. Those in favour? That motion is carried. We now move to item 5.2, election of mayor. The next item on the agenda is the election of the mayor. I will now ask for nominations for the role of mayor. Nominations need to be seconded, and I will confirm with the nominee that they are happy to be nominated. Once we have nominations, I will call for votes for each of the nominees in alphabetical order. The process for voting will take place in accordance with the governance rules and a mayor will be elected on an absolute majority of councillor votes, being 6 or more. So, councillors, I call for the nomination for the position of mayor for the ensuing year.
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to nominate Stefan Kuman for the role of Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Crowther. Councillor Cooman, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations for the position of mayor for the ensuing year? There are not. Good. Sorry? Yes, so I just need a seconder for that motion. So we've got a mover, Councillor Crowther, seconded. Excuse me, I'm not going to tolerate any further interjections, thank you. Councillor Dowling has seconded that motion. I am going to put that motion. All of those in favour? Against? That is carried. I now declare Councillor Cooman elected mayor for the ensuing year. Congratulations. So I now invite you to take the chair, Councillor Cooman, as mayor, and invite you to address the council.
Thank you everyone. It's truly an honour to be elected the first mayor of the City of Casey as we return back to regular proceedings, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here, firstly as a councillor, along with my fellow new councillors, and secondly as mayor, and I'd genuinely taken aback, I think. I was just reflecting on when I first started knocking on doors earlier this year in Doveton, to think that right now I'd be councillor, let alone mayor. It's just not something that crossed my mind. I came into this role with a real just desire to serve our community, and I'm hoping to be able to do that in both my role as councillor and as mayor. And hold it together, Stefan. I'm just genuinely shocked. I think I'd like to take the opportunity to thank my fellow councillors for their support. It's been a fantastic week that we've spent together, an intense week. We've got to know each other, and I think it's a fantastic group. I'm really looking forward to the next year and the next 4 years. I think what we've got here is a group of residents who are genuinely here to serve the community, and I don't think we could have wished for a better group of people. It's often said that the voters don't get it wrong, and they didn't this time. I think we've got a real collection of different experiences and different backgrounds. We've got an equal gender split. I think we've got an exemplary group who will, based on the last week, from what I've seen, who will really work together to serve the people of Casey. And I'm delighted to be able to lead that group for the first year. In terms of what I want to achieve as mayor, I think this first year, and I've explained it in terms of my pitch to fellow councillors, is just about building a culture. It's about bringing back good governance. It's about bringing back trust from residents, because as 12 residents here who have been elected as council, I think we want you all to know that we've experienced and we've felt the difficulties of the last 5 years, and we were shocked about what happened, and we've got to be upfront about that. And I think our job is to win back that trust, and we're ready to do that from day one, and I'm really confident that we can do that. I guess in terms of people to thank, because I'm watching the clock go down here, I really just want to take the opportunity to thank my family. They've joined me here today. My mum. Sorry. She's been a really big influence for me. I'm not normally like this, everyone. And now my amazing family. I think my daughter Georgie's there. She's voted 12 times today for me to be mayor. She's quite vocal, and my amazing wife Katrina, who's just been an absolute rock for me, supported me through this campaign, and I really couldn't be here today in whatever position without her amazing support. So thank you, everyone, and I really do genuinely look forward to working with you all in the spirit that we've held over the last week, and I think it's going to be a fantastic 4-year term. Thank you. Excellent. All right. Next item of business is item 5.3, which is the election of the Deputy Mayor. I will now move to the receipt of nominations for the election of the Deputy Mayor, and I call for nominations for the office of the Deputy Mayor. The process for the election of the Deputy Mayor will follow the same process as the election of the Mayor. So, councillors, I now call for nominations for the position of Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to nominate Councillor Melinda Ambrose for the position of Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dezon.
Does she accept that nomination?
Yes, Councillor Ambrose, do you accept that nomination?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I do accept.
Thank you, Councillor Ambrose, and we call for a seconder, please.
I second that.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Now I ask, are there any further nominations for the position of Deputy Mayor? Excellent. With no further nominations, I now ask councillors by a show of hands to please vote for Councillor Ambrose for the position of Deputy Mayor. All those in favour, raise your hand. And carried. Excellent. I would now like to invite the incoming Deputy Mayor to address Council.
Thank you, Mayor. I just would like to say it's an honour to be here and stand in front of you guys, and also that you've entrusted your vote and supporting me. So I'm here to represent you and our Mayor and support him as well, and also all the residents as well. So I echo that we have an amazing group here today, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys as Deputy Mayor for the next year, and also for the next 4 years as a councillor. I also would like to thank my family, my husband and my children, and my extended family community. I'm here today standing because the residents that supported me, so I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll now move on to item 5.4 of business, which is to appoint councillors to the Audit and Risk Committee. And I invite Miss Chloe Casey, Manager of Communications and Corporate Governments, to present the report.
Thank you, Mayor. Council is required to annually appoint delegates to various associations, boards and committees to ensure Council meets its legislative obligations, advocates on behalf of the Casey community, and monitors the expenditure and management of funds provided by Council to other organisations. While the Council normally undertakes the appointment of the committee delegates in December each year, the next Audit and Risk Committee meeting is scheduled to meet on Tuesday the 17th of December 2024. Therefore, this committee is identified as a priority to appoint councillor delegates to ensure appropriate briefing and preparation for this meeting can occur. The Audit and Risk Committee comprises of 5 persons appointed by Council, 2 councillors and 3 independent external members, of which 1 is the chairperson. The Local Government Act 2020 highlights that the Audit and Risk Committee must collectively have expertise in financial management and risk, as well as experience in public sector management. The Audit and Risk Committee follows the Audit and Risk Charter, which outlines the purpose, authority and responsibilities of an organisation's Audit and Risk Committee functions. The committee has the authority to approve key documents and reports that must be approved by Council, including annual financial reports, annual performance statements, new or revised policies or other documents that assist in maintaining a strong internal control environment, endorse the internal audit plan with an outlook of greater than 1 year, provide advice and make recommendations to council on matters within its areas of responsibility, seek any relevant information or support through the Chief Executive Officer where it considers necessary to meet its responsibilities under the committee charter, and meet with council officers, internal and external auditors and other parties as required to discharge responsibilities. This report is seeking council appoint 2 council delegates as representatives to the Audit and Risk Committee over the next 12 months.
Thank you, Ms Casey. Councillors, are there any questions? No? Can I please see a show of hands of those who wish to nominate for the 2 positions on the Audit and Risk Committee? Thank you, Councillor Eves, and thank you, Councillor Pereira. Are there any other councillors who'd like to nominate? No, thank you. All right, we'll now go through a show of hands for those who are in favour of Councillor Eves and Councillor Pereira as delegates to our Audit and Risk Committee. Can I have a show of hands? Yeah, you can vote. Thank you, and that's carried. Congratulations to Councillor Eves and Councillor Pereira. All right, I'll now move on to next item of business, which is item 6, consideration of reports of committees. I note that the records of discussion as listed in the agendas, I note the records of discussion as listed in the agenda papers. Moving now to item 7, petitions. So there were no petitions for this council meeting. And moving now to item 8, late reports. There were no late reports for this council meeting. Further to item 9, urgent business. There were no urgent business items received for this special council meeting. And item 10, closed council. There are no closed council items for this council meeting. And with that, I now move to item 11, which is to close this council meeting. Thank you. That now finalises the proceedings for this afternoon, and thanks to the members of the public for joining us here today in the public gallery and watching on the live stream. I call this meeting closed at 4:27 p.m. Thank you.